Hello everyone. Sorry for the late start. We're dealing with some technical difficulties trying to get people into the actual hangout. But we're just going to get things rolling and see how things work from there. This little video is for the Fairfield County Writers Group to kind of strategize about 2014. I have a couple ideas of what I'd like to accomplish in 2014 with our group, but I also wanted to open it up to the rest of our little region to find out what other people would like or are expecting, and kind of as an overview of 2013, like how did things go for you, what worked, what didn't. And for those unable to make it into this hangout, you're welcome to post in the YouTube comments, and we shall handle those accordingly. Just to kind of get things rolling, for those of you who got to participate in 2013 events, primarily Kathy and myself, how did it go? What worked and what didn't?
Well, I'm, as I've said so many times before, I'm one of those border jumpers. I like the events I was able to make it to, and my schedule is wild and crazy. So when I can, I come, and when I can't, I can't, and that's kind of how that goes. But overall, I've gotten a lot out of the group, both live and online. I've taught a bunch of workshops in the past. That was the one I taught for the Fairfield County Writers Group this year. It's the longest one I've ever taught. So that was kind of interesting. I like to think it went reasonably well. I also wrote one. I volunteered to write 2 booklets, and I actually got 1 accomplished. So I've still got a booklet on my roster of things to deal with. And I seem to have locked up.
And I think we averaged. I think we averaged about 1 writing event per month, with the exception of November, where we had a writing event every weekend because of NaNoWriMo. I think there were only 2 months where I was unable to run an event because I was at conventions. But I'm hoping this year the way it's going to be scheduled is the 3rd Saturday of each month will be a 3-hour write-in, ideally at a library somewhere within Fairfield County. I think that way I'll be avoiding most, if not all, conventions that'll be going on that I'd be attending. And I'm hoping to coordinate with 5 or 6 libraries within the area so that we can host events at libraries rather than at Paneras or cafes or random places that we happen to find. I'm still coordinating with some of the event coordinators at certain libraries, and I'm still trying to reach out to other libraries where we haven't actually done much, if anything, with them in the past. So it's going to be interesting over the next month or 2 to try and make the appropriate crossroads with libraries and locations to figure things out. But the goal is the same as this year. 1 writing event per month at a minimum. And I'm hoping to do 4 or 5 workshops in 2014. Let's see. The goal is at least 1 workshop per quarter. Sorry, more technical difficulties trying to respond to people.
There you go. Suggestion.
Yes.
When you're thinking about libraries, one thing I think you want to consider is adequate parking, both number of spaces and length you can stay in that spot. I can't remember which one, but one of the ones during November, there was a library parking lot that was pretty much full because they were having an event, and then there was public parking which was only good for 2 hours. And when you have a 3-hour write-in, that's kind of awkward.
Yeah, I know
And
the
that was
library
pretty
you're
full too.
talking
So once
of.
you moved,
That one actually
yeah.
has a library on the or has a parking lot on the other side of the library, which I think does not have a time
Oh,
limit. But yeah, parking is
that
still
is
limited
true.
there.
That is true. But there was no signs for it to begin with. And when I found it, when I had to move my car, it was full because they were having an event, and I was very lucky to catch a spot as somebody pulled out, because otherwise I would have been driving in circles. So that's a factor you want to keep in mind when
Hooray!
you're scheduling libraries.
Roman made it in.
Relatively small in the scheme of things. Yay!
Greetings. It didn't want me to go in because some of you aren't in my circles.
Well, that's just silly.
Yes. Greetings to everyone.
Salutations.
But I have been listening. I have been listening at least, so.
Hooray! Do you have any commentary on how 2013 has gone for our region?
I think that we did a couple of things in 2013 that were great. We did Kathy's creativity seminar, Justin's world building. I think the plotting one we did went well. I think that got a couple of people interested in our group. I don't know if it brought any long-term new ones, but and you said that we only did one per month. I think we did more than one in October, didn't we?
Yeah, October we did a couple pre-nano events as well.
Right, yeah. I think that those are useful. I think that gets the word out. I think working with the libraries would be good. The people at the Westport Library at the last event seemed like they were gung-ho about it. And obviously Amanda Darien is gung-ho.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she's obviously willing to support us. I think we make her look good because we got good turnouts. And that's part of it, you know, everybody has to win from it. So I think the libraries are definitely the way to go. They're a lot more comfortable. It's a damn shame there are no drinks in New Canaan, but they don't mind you bringing in drinks from the outside. So, you know, I don't know what other libraries there are, libraries that are closer to, for example, for you, Kathy, to get you to save some gas money in terms of that.
That would be delightful, but I resigned myself to the fact that to be an artist, one must suffer. I enjoy you guys, and you are worth driving the distance to see you when I'm free to do so.
You are far too kind. So
yeah,
I think the libraries are great, especially when we have rooms to ourselves, because we can talk. And I think that some of the talks, I know for me, they have been helpful. Not just in terms of, you know, learning about the writing craft, but also in terms of motivation. I'd like to get more. I think the group is getting mature enough to a certain extent that we could be a little bit more, and we're all at different levels, obviously, but we've all moved forward. So I think a little more work on the craft would be interesting to do in 2014, and not just the camaraderie and motivation. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm definitely for some more engaging either workshops or just writing events in general. Some of the workshops I kind of had in mind for 2014, just to give you all an idea, is skimming through my notes.
Ooh, you prepared. Ooh.
Somewhat. The idea of a plot in a day workshop, so kind of expanding on the whole plot in an hour workshop that Roman has done. I kind of want to expand that a little to also include a little more character creation and universe building, so you can really get a little bit of everything all in one day.
That sounds great.
And it would probably be multiple speakers depending on the topic, so one of us would handle like a 60 to 75 minute portion, and then we trade it off to someone else, and over the course of maybe 5 or 6 hours, we'd be able to build up an entire story from beginning to end.
Well, if we do something like that, it would be really worth the marketing effort to getting the word out to try to get a large audience to something like that. Do you think libraries would allow us to take up that much time? Or would
Yeah,
we
I would
have to go
have
back to the
to.
hotels?
I would have to coordinate with a library and get their backing, I think, to be able to do a 5 or 6 hour block.
Hmm.
But I think if we promote it and market it appropriately, we'll be able to get a lot of support because we can bring in a
Yeah.
lot of outside people from our group or some
Yeah,
of the people who aren't able to attend as regularly.
I think that would be useful. I think one of the good reasons to use a library, let's say Darien, for example, is because someone like Amanda will promote it.
Hmm.
And she did help get people there to the plotting classes before, obviously, because she did get the word out to the Darien community. We could see that. And so the libraries would be a good partner for that reason, for those events, rather than doing it in a hotel where it's probably harder to get people to show up.
Yeah.
The other reason is when
I
you have
would
events
wonder
that...
though. I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead, Kathy. Go ahead, Kathy.
Oh no, you go. I thought there was a gap
I
I
was
was missing there.
saying one of the other reasons that avoiding hotels might be a good thing is that when people see seminars in hotels, somewhere in the back of their mind they think that somebody's going to try to sell them something.
Mm.
Yeah, there is that.
Hmm.
Somebody's watching this deferred because
It's
I'm
also
hearing my own
worthy of
voice.
It's also worthy of note if you're doing it at a library. I know we've charged for a small amount for them in the past. If you're using a library, which is a public facility, can you charge admission?
That needs to be worked out with the library itself. They generally frown upon that, but the
It's,
trade-off is we generally don't have to pay for the
it
rental.
also it also might be worth seeing. Library is cool. It also might be worth seeing if you could get a school.
That's true too. Schools could be useful for that. Although their desks
Yeah,
tend to be small.
I know. Well, it depends. If you go to high school,
You haven't been to a high school in a
that's
while,
not
have
going to
you?
be as big of an issue. That's true. No, actually that's not true. I've been to events at high schools, and I've done events in high schools within the last few years. So depends on the high school. Also, it might be worth checking into parks and rec departments. I know, for example, I'm out of your area. I'm in Wallingford. Wallingford has a kick-ass parks and rec department with a lot of really good classes and things of that sort. Including they've got a whole building with facilities. You know, tables, chairs, all that kind of good stuff. And if you might, they have workshops that basically people sign up to give workshops. And Parks and Rec charges a fee for those in Wallingford, that sort of thing, but it's not that excessive. So that I don't know what's down your way, what's available, but if you have if you have a town that has a good Parks and Rec department that has facilities, that might be another thing to consider for space.
Yeah, there are facilities at Waveney in New Canaan, but I think that there are probably no Wi-Fi there anyway. And they're probably expensive because they rent them out for weddings and things like that.
The Waveney Mansion is a no-go unless I manage to find a friend who's pretty high up in their hierarchy. They do have a community building that's kind of hidden away in one of the corners of the park that I have not looked fully into yet, though, which may be a possibility.
I've used the Waveney Mansion before for local soccer meetings with the parents, but that's because that's a totally town-sponsored thing, so that was easy to get done in terms of that, because that was specifically for the kids in the town, you know.
Yeah.
But I think outside of that, I think the libraries are a comfortable place. People are comfortable in the libraries. The libraries here, you know, Westport and Darien have great facilities. You know, it's nice to move it around. It'd be nice to see if we can get, you know, a little farther north for some of the people.
Yeah, I'm hoping to make some inroads with somewhere like Danbury or Trumbull or Bethel,
Mhm.
somewhere up that a ways, so we can cover that portion of the region.
Yeah,
I,
Bethel's actually pretty good.
I'm more thinking Parks and Rec, for example. If you find the library loves you but can't do a 5 or 6 hour type of a
Mhm.
stint, that might be another route to go. I know, for example, a medieval reenactment group I've been part of, we've been able to rent outdoor facilities like a park for like 25 in Wallingford for $25 a day, plus another $25 key deposit for the bathrooms, which you get back at the end of the event. So they rent both parks outdoors, which the right kind of writing workshop that might be interesting, um, and also rooms in the school system and in their facilities. So
Hmm.
not to push it unduly. If you can get a library that'll do you six hour stint, bonsai, you got it.
Yeah, it's going to take a little while to figure out the logistics, figure out, one, how much do we want to put into a one-day workshop, and how long is it going to take us to go through
Mm-hmm.
that workshop?
Yeah, and how far ahead do you have to reserve these things? I mean, if we're reserving them 4 or 5 months ahead, we may be able to get a whole day of library because they've got nothing booked that far out.
Yeah. Uh, I think if we put together an outline of who would cover what, how long would it take, and then say it's 5 hours
Mhm.
altogether. And then I can go to a library, go to their event director equivalent, and say, we want to do this. It'll be open to the public. We can promote it to everyone around and market it accordingly. And depending on how filled their schedule is, they're pretty accommodating normally. At least the
Libraries
ones
have
that I've interacted with.
libraries have a desperate need to show that they are viable to the community because that's how they get funding. Is they have to show to their city, to their county, to their state, and to the federal government that they are doing things that the community looks for.
Hmm.
So having activities like this are good for them. So
Is it
some of them get
also
overbooked, but that's how they
is
get
it
their
also
funding.
uh, is it also possible to get some kind of like a folding sign that we could put out in front of the room where we're having our meetings?
That's actually
Yes.
that's easy enough to do, and I know how to do it. You can get a really nice one done at Staples if you use one of their standard backgrounds. We just throw a logo on it, and it's like $35. You get it in vinyl with grommets.
Hmm.
Hmm.
I was thinking like like a freestanding like the triangle thing that unfolds. If the libraries would permit it, if you could have something you could just carry on in and put out in front of the room that says Fairfield County Writing Group meeting here today.
Yeah, it's easily
The
enough
group
put together.
the the group is as Roman said, the group is mature enough that it's got things to offer people, and it may make it easier for people who are just coming into the library to say, "Hey, there's a writing group. I didn't know anything about that,
Hmm.
and
Yeah,
maybe I'd like to check it."
you might get some walk-ins that way. It's true. I don't know if they'd stay
Exactly.
for several hours if they were a walk-in, but
Well, you never
Maybe,
know.
maybe not for a workshop, but maybe for the write-in
hmm
for some of the
Hmm.
write-ins, and maybe the first time they come in and they poke their head in and they find out what it's about and they pick up an agenda for when we're meeting next where, or
that
maybe
that
they stay for a while and see what it's like.
that's probably what you mentioned there is probably a good idea. We should probably develop a one-page, what the writers group is about, along with the annual calendar, maybe on the other side of the page, just available for people if they poke their heads in.
Yeah, it's relatively easy to pull together.
Yeah, so
Because
I just
right
go
now when
ahead.
we do the libraries, the people who come are the people who already know about the group. And that's groovy, but perhaps you want to attract some more writers. Some random drive-by wandering monster writers.
Absolutely.
Hmm. I can probably format it easily enough into like a trifold brochure, which most libraries and like independent bookstores have a little spot somewhere where you can put
hmm
that type of promotional material, so I can start canvassing the whole county little by little.
Sure, and I'd be willing to put some cash in to print them out, to photocopy them.
And
we'll see.
like I said, if libraries were permitted, I think having a sign out front when we're doing something would be good. Like, out in front of the room, just so people know.
Yeah,
I don't know if the libraries
would
go for that or not.
As long as it's not too large or in the way or anything, they're pretty accommodating. I mean, I can also just do a standard poster-sized version if we want to put it on a door or window or something, depending on where we are.
I was thinking like a freestanding one, like I don't know, maybe 3 foot high by 2 foot wide type of thing that's like two slabs with a connecting strap. So they kind of stand as a triangle. It's more visible than the thing on a door, and people tend to go, "What is that?" But to each their own. There's a question of cost there. There's a question of what the libraries will permit, and there's a question of what you want to be dealing with. You bring in a lot of stuff.
I can think of a few people that would be willing to help pull that together in a very cost-effective manner and still make it eye-catching.
And you've got your logo and that sort of thing, so that's eye-catching already. So it's just
Yeah, I know you've got access to artists like Becky or somebody like that who might be able to do something like that for us.
There's also the thing of, even if they don't check it out the first time, if they see it repeatedly, after a while people get curious. So, we recruit to the cult,
That's right.
You will be assimilated. So.
And another little micro workshop that would be comparatively short that I had in mind was the whole concept of how to figuring out how to write or fit in writing into your regular day, week, or month, or etc. So like methods on forming the writing habit and how to reprioritize your life.
Yeah, there are a lot of good books on that. I wasted a lot of time reading them about how I should be more efficient with my time.
So have I.
Yeah, I think we all have. But some of them give you good tips. There's one I just downloaded now. It said, how to consistently write 2,000 words a day. I haven't cracked it open yet, but I'm looking forward to that. That would be very nice to have.
Yeah, I'm thinking like even if like 60-minute tops, kind of little micro workshop to help people figure out just what is in their regular schedule that they can kind of shuffle around so they can actually put writing time on their schedule, or kind of just get into the mindset of, okay, I have 15 minutes before this thing happens. Here's my notebook. Let me scribble something for a little while. Just so you get something in.
If nobody else wants it, I'd be willing to take that one.
Okay.
If you've already got somebody lined up for it, bonsai.
Not yet. It's still just in the idea stages.
Okay. What I'd like to see some things, workshops, if you've got people who can teach them, on the bits and pieces that are associated with writing. So things about building your own platform, publicizing your work, getting the word out there, self-publishing versus trad publishing, things of that sort. Some of the stuff I already know.
My 5th or 6th workshop concept.
What?
That's my 5th or 6th
okay.
workshop concept. You're jumping ahead of me.
I must be psychic.
Really, that's usually people end that with an O.
No. The problem is you don't know me. Calvin, the problem is you don't know me directly. I'm actually a professional psychic, among other things. So this is our psychic humor.
Right on.
There you go. Odd stuff. But
yeah,
like for me, I'm learning about the publicizing stuff and all that kind of stuff, and I need, among other things, to not only develop a organized system of doing all this publicity stuff and that sort of thing, but I need to get it so that it will work with my schedule, so that I make the best use of what time I've got to do it in.
You know, I'm thinking even a session on how to transform your work into an EPUB format.
Oh, I'd love to see one of those.
I think a lot of people would like to see that, because I think there's a ton of people out there who are curious, and they, you know, putting it up as an EPUB on Amazon, on Kindle or something like that is something a lot of people would like to try to do, but the technology is daunting for them.
And there's a lot of different...
I have several connections of people who have done that, and some who even do that professionally, but unfortunately they don't even live in our time zone.
Oh, okay. Well, but maybe they could give you a basic script of how to explain it, and then, you know, we could get somebody here locally who can...
Also, the question would be, I think, could you do workshops like you're doing right now with this meeting?
Yes, presuming that we can
get it to work a lot.
Kinks.
Yeah.
I think we'd have to do some test runs beforehand.
Sounds good, but that might be something worth putting on your list for looking into eventually.
Yeah, another goal is to try and, for some of the workshops, if not all of them, get a recorded version in some way, shape, or form so we can put them up on our website, fairfieldcountywritersgroup.com, and on the YouTube page and all that stuff for people who can't make it for that particular time.
And also for something that can be linked to boost awareness of the writers group. Yeah. Because I think you're at a stage now where you're growing and you can afford to grow more, and part of that is publicity. So, for example, I have 2 blogs that have got limited attention, but if you have good videos, I'll be willing to link them and put them in posts, you know. And probably a bunch of the other people in your group would be able to do that too. Which means people who are not part of the group would see them and possibly become interested in the group.
Yeah, we're definitely kind of on the cusp where a lot of people know about us but can't necessarily attend on a regular basis, and I think some people are starting to hear about us because we've just been around long enough and done enough things that we're kind of getting on people's radars. Now we need to justify their attention.
Yeah, so we need to, there's a couple of things that we need to amp up the PR impact of ours. That's why libraries are good, because libraries will get the word out. But even if we can find, like, and I'd be glad to help on that, get a list of, like, all of the local newspapers and just send them a blurb every time we're going to have a meeting. They will print it if they get it a week ahead. They will print it because they're always dying for content. So they'll actually put us in there as a calendar, and you will get people showing up because they read us in the newspaper.
Yeah, getting our stuff into the newspaper has been on my wish list since year 1. I just never took the time to figure out the logistics of it.
Okay, I used to do that to report soccer scores that way, and it's really email is the way to do it. It's very easy. You just have to find the right contacts. So I mean, I'd be glad to do that once we have the calendar all set up. I'd be glad to do that. You know, just have to email them like a week before the meeting, and it gets into the paper.
Yeah, I'm hoping to coordinate the definitely January and possibly February and March events before next year, just so we can kind of get a little bit ahead of things. If I can get in touch with the appropriate librarians in time. Since it is the end of the year, all bets are off.
Look at an ambitious Charles here.
I like it.
Yeah, I have a master calendar of all of the events for Full Coverage Writers, Fairfield County Writers Group, Word Ninjas Network, and a few other fiddly bits. So now it's just putting in all the actual details for those events. Although the workshops are not on there yet. That's kind of at the library's availability. And just to give people an idea of some of the other workshop ideas that I had in mind, a writing strategies workshop No, wait, I did that one. Next one. The editing process. Because a lot of us have novels that are either finished with the first draft or getting there.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of us are not big fans of editing, or we haven't really done it enough to be comfortable with it. So we could use
Editing
some
too.
tips and tricks and methods for getting it done.
I'm sure it's useful. I would definitely attend that.
Yep.
Yeah, I
Me
could
too.
definitely use it. That one's going to take some time to figure out who would be available to speak at it and what we'd be able to actually accomplish. So that one's probably going to be mid-year at the earliest.
Mm.
And probably later on, I also want to do one on the whole querying, submitting, and publishing process, presuming we can fit all three into one workshop, because they're like individual beasts all within themselves.
Yeah, they are. That's a lot to put into one workshop.
Yeah.
You might do better to break that one up a bit.
Yeah, I think it's going to depend on who I can get to speak for that one and participate. It would be nice to conveniently have that all in one day. That might be another 5-hour one if possible, or we'll just break it up into maybe 2-hour workshop segments spaced over a couple months. We'll see. Yeah, and then I had a lot for that one. There's no way that's going to fit in one day. But like, how do you go about the submission process? What's the etiquette involved? How do you find the right contacts? What about the self-publishing process? So the whole and figuring out the print versus digital options. And how do you go about promoting your works? So the whole marketing and promotion aspects and selling your works post-publishing. How do you network?
I think each of these sounds like an individual workshop.
Yeah, we could definitely fill 2 hours probably on each topic easily.
Oh, far more. For example, if you're just talking about how do you publicize your book, that right there could be like 5 hours worth of stuff.
The question is, how do we get people to sit in a room and listen to 5 hours of how do you market your book?
Yeah,
we need to make sure that it's still engaging and informative.
Oh yeah. Let me put it this way. I've been to a workshop on doing that. So you need a good speaker. You also need, as it were, hands-on participation.
Yeah, I think for that one we'll need to be at the point where someone either has a book ready to be published or is published or is like 90% there. That way they have something that they can actually work with and work towards. Well, if they're just at the story creation level, it might not be too useful for them.
Actually, no.
But you're going to get a few starry-eyed people who say, I have a great idea and I need to learn this part of it before I even start to write. You will get people like that.
Well, we'll take anyone and everyone.
Yeah, I think that it's true. Don't turn anybody away.
Well, that's kind of been the whole heart behind our region to begin with. We'll take anyone and everyone whenever they can make it. Oh, we lost Kathy.
Oh, I just got the fact that she just joined.
And then she disappeared.
Oh, yeah, she has disappeared. I do see Justin, but he's muted, huh?
Yeah, he wandered off to order dinner.
Oh, okay.
He should make it back eventually. But yeah, there's a lot of workshop ideas that I'd like to have accomplished throughout next year and beyond. And it would be nice to get some of them recorded if possible, so for those that can't make it, and to make it at least semi-timeless, so it's not like this only works in 2014, and if you see it beyond that, oh well.
Okay.
That wouldn't be very good.
I may disappear from my screen for a moment, but that's just because I have to change a setting on my oven.
Okie dokie. Calvin, out of curiosity, what do you think of all of this? And how feasible is it considering our current resources and motivation? Considering you know the full extent of our technological capabilities, or lack thereof.
I've been trying to like figure out ways in terms of at least publicity to that can try to help out moving forward. If I can come up with anything, if positive or negative, I'll try to chime in and see what I can contribute. You know.
Okay. Yeah, just as important as the useful things are the things that we should not do, preferably before we do them.
Right. Yeah, I'll definitely jump in if I have any light bulbs flashing.
Or warning bulbs flashing.
Yes.
Hello, I'm
I've been
back
trying
again.
to go through some of the ideas you guys have.
Hello. Welcome back.
Technology.
Been trying to go through some of the ideas you guys have brought forth, and just trying to figure out how I can incorporate that into the website. If you guys wouldn't mind, since you guys are active users, active in the Fairfield County Writers Group, is there anything that you would like to see moving forward on the website?
Yes, lots.
All right, let me get
Maybe for it to be used at all.
Couple of things that I would change on the website. First of all, in terms of the look and feel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
oh, please.
I'm over the age of 45. Please double your font size. Your font size is way too small. And that being said, I've designed e-commerce websites for 15 years, and I'm currently working on game design.
Okay.
And there is a bunch of things that need to be done. The navigation needs to be more intuitive, buttons instead of just words for clicking on. As far as features for the site that I would really like to see is, I don't see how I find any of the podcasts on the site. The top navigation only says homepage, forum, chat, calendar, and logout. It's very strange to see a link to homepage when you're on the homepage.
All right, fair enough.
Okay. The homepage itself tells me way too little, and there is no call to action on the homepage except for the top navigation. So it needs to have something that tells me, you know, what to do. The only thing I can see is, you know, is who's online, and something that says PayPal, but is not obviously a link unless I mouse over it.
Yeah, so that button broke again. Okay.
So there are a few usability issues, you know, in terms of that kind of visualization. But it's really a basic in web design that every page should have a very clear and distinct call to action, at least one, preferably just one, but at least one. Outside of that, I like the font at the top. I like the kind of denimish background. I think that's cool. I think the overall look is cool. It's interesting to have rounded corners on the left-hand side and sharp corners on the right. That's very unusual, and I like that. And some of the little doohickeys are. It's just, you know, having just the forums looks very 20th century.
I was going to go with 1990s, but that works too.
Or as the chat, the calendar also is kind of antique looking in terms of that. So and it's easy to find, you know, new style sheets for that stuff.
Yeah, I'm curious how much of this is changeable once we migrate this over to WordPress.
Oh, if you do it in WordPress, you've got a world, I mean, a universe of formats that you can use on WordPress.
Yeah, because we're still running this one off of Joomla at the moment, which it suited us for the time, but I think we've grown up enough that we can
Joomla's
evolve.
not a bad platform, except that, you know, Joomla is kind of like like Linux. You know, if you bought a 6-pack of Linux beer or a 6-pack of Joomla beer, you'd have to open each can differently. You know, and anybody who's worked at it knows that. WordPress will make it a lot more comfortable, a lot easier to use. And if you're doing it in WordPress, your homepage really becomes almost a blog format by default, where you put up what the latest events are as the main content of the homepage, which is really good because then every time somebody returns, there is new content as soon as they see it, rather than forcing them to go dig for stuff.
And you can also
Calvin,
you can also put in topics, which makes it easy to find what you need.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can tag the events accordingly.
Yeah, and you can do a keyword cloud with it. There's a lot of stuff you can do that makes it just more usable and certainly more current.
Yeah. Calvin, something that came to me is setting up an events page for Fairfield County Writers Group in line with the events page for full coverage writers, so that each write-in or workshop has its own page that we can put all of the details and marketing stuff in for people to view and check out.
The other thing is all the podcasts. You can't find them on this site.
Yeah, they're currently set up under the full coverage writers site, which is not interlinked at all currently.
Is there a reason for that?
We haven't gotten to it yet.
Okay.
Yeah, the Fairfield County
that's the short
Writers
answer.
site is kind of just in indefinite hold while we try and sort out that, the Word Ninjas network, which will kind of run Fairfield County Writers Group and future regions, which is then under the Full Coverage Writers brand, which we need to better explain everywhere, which is on me. But by January 6th, we will have all of that ironed out a lot better than it has been in the past.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all a work in progress, which is why I'm asking for any sort of feedback moving forward, because I'm working on the sites right now.
Full Coverage Writers is on the WordPress format, right?
I'm sorry?
Full Coverage Writers is being pushed out through WordPress, right?
Yes.
Full Coverage Writers is already on WordPress.
Yeah, it shows. It's a much nicer site.
One other thing you might want to consider adding to the website, especially if you're going Fairfield County Writers Group, or if you're going WordPress rather. Hush.
We're used to that. No worries.
One thing you might want to contemplate is doing some kind of voluntary thing that when people hit a writing mark or something like that, like publishing a book or an article or something like that, have an announcement. Give them the option of having an announcement on the group, because it'll show on your website. It'll show that things are being accomplished by the group, which will make your website look, and it'll keep your website even more active.
That's true.
I think that's been one of like the really big things about the Fairfield County website. It's just been like from the outside looking in, it looks like just one page with a blurb and like not a damn thing going on.
Bingo.
And
pretty much.
It looks totally inactive. The other thing is it looks resource poor. So I don't see anything on there that's like the links to events. There's a calendar, okay, but you have to go digging for it to find them rather than them being in your face. There should be links to books. There should be links to audio books. There should be, and actually, the group itself could become an affiliate of Amazon and Audible, and by posting those ads, the group will make money if somebody buys from them. And actually, the way that it works is all you have to do is click one time, and even if they come back without clicking on somebody else's ad in between, no matter what they buy, they can buy pots and pans at Amazon, and the group will actually make some cash.
That's pretty cool.
I know Amazon we can do, but last time I checked, Audible doesn't work in Connecticut for affiliate stuff.
Oh, interesting. But even if they don't work in Connecticut, just about half of the writing podcasts I listen to There's some in the sci-fi space that I listen to. There's some just in the writer's space that I listen to. Just about all of them have a commercial for Audible in the middle of them. And they say, well, if you click on it, you'll get, a free account with Audible for the first 30 days and get this book for free, and we make a little money.
Mm.
So I could do a little research on that if you want.
That would be great.
Yeah, because I'd love to be able to affiliate with them because they are a great resource.
They are, and we can always, once a month push a new book on Amazon or a new book on Audible, and once again that becomes, even if it's commercial as an activity, it's still a resource and becomes a resource for people.
Mm-hmm.
You can push one a month and that sort of thing, but you can also have announcements of, hey, this member has just had this article published, or hey, they've just had this book come out, which is good for the author because it gives them more publicity, and you can link to their product, and you may sell more product. It's good for the group because it makes the group look more active, which it is an active group. You might as well look at. And you can make it an optional thing, as in you notify people who are in the group that if you want to do this, you send us a blurb, and we'll put it up if it meets our standards. So it's next to no work for you too.
All right.
Which, given you've got too many good things to do and not enough time to do them in,
Yeah.
That's a plus.
A question for you guys. In terms of the look, Roman, you said you like the Fairfield County, the look of the Fairfield County site.
It's still a little bland, but I like it better than than some others. I think the denim look and the font and the design is okay. The font needs to be much larger, and the calls to action need to be a lot clearer. It looks like a GeoCities page. How mean can I get?
Yeah, that one hurts.
No laughing.
Well.
Justin is back.
Hooray.
I don't know if you guys know this, but it snowed over the weekend, I guess.
Go
it sure
figure.
did.
Yeah,
I had to get my car out of an ice tomb.
I braved the cold and the snow last night to see the desolation of smog, and I highly recommend it.
Excellent.
It is much better than the first Hobbit movie.
Oh God, I hope so.
It's really good. It
good.
is really good. The dragon smog defines film dragon.
Oh, wow.
Excellent.
No silverware. I'm gonna eat that. So, give me the quick bullet points of what I've missed.
Everything.
Well, we came up with a whole bunch of ideas, and everybody said that Justin should handle them.
All right. You just send me an email. I'll take care of it.
Yeah, we believe that.
And it all needs to be done by tomorrow.
Okay, that might be problematic.
Why?
Did CJ tell you I worked? Did CJ tell you I worked 80 hours this week? That's the final count for this week.
Wow.
Let's be honest. You put in 80 hours.
Sadly, I probably did work all 80 of those hours.
Okay.
Maybe 75 of them. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt.
Okay.
Okay, Calvin.
Yes.
Have you had a chance to try and figure out the logistics for like the awards or achievement badges that we kept on playing around with as an idea?
That will all be part of Buddy Press, and I am going to need more time to try to sort through all of that.
Okay. Because something like that would be a good way to allow people to say, hey, I accomplished writing 50,000 words, or my novel is done and published, and whatnot.
Thankfully, thanks to all of the WordPress meetups I've been going to, I already know of a resource that can help with that. So
Nice.
Cool.
And I know Justin has consistently offered to create some achievement badges for our region, as I put you on the spot live.
Good. Yep. I will definitely do that when I'm not in a nightmarish hellscape of work. But again, that should all be done this week, because if it's not, then I get fired. So one way or the other, next week I will be much more free.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I think that goes for a lot of us at the moment. If we can
Freedom
survive
for
this
Christmas.
week, we'll be good.
Okay.
Freedom for Christmas, and we can only hope that it's the right kind of freedom.
Mm-hmm. There's a wrong kind of freedom?
So, yeah, some of the things that you missed, just to quickly go over, is a lot of workshop ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like figure out a plot in a day. So expanding from the plot in 60 minutes, we'd add more character creation and world building time to it. And then other workshops like the whole strategy on how to fit writing into your regular day, or forming the writing habit and reprioritizing your life, stuff like that.
Did we want to do a short story swap this year?
We did not actually cover that yet.
Oh. Well,
But that's
then
an
I just brought it
interesting
up.
idea.
Boom.
I think that's a short story or a chapter for those who are novelists. I think that's an interesting idea. I think I'd like that.
Yeah, story swap would be pretty fun.
Roman, this will interest you. I picked up a bottle of Talisker 30 from 2006. It's the first time they sent out the Talisker 30s, and it's cask strength, and it's going to be amazing. Nice.
I'm sure it is.
And it's $30 an ounce if you're interested.
$30 an ounce?
Yep. That's at cost. If you want to try some, you're more than welcome to have it at cost. I won't upcharge you.
Oh, I might. That's only like 10% of the price of, beluga caviar or French black truffles.
Mm-hmm. But I got the saltiest one that they had, so I'm really looking forward to this one. It's going to be like drinking the ocean.
Like I told you, try salt rimming whiskey glasses.
I'm doing that with a buddy of mine, maybe tonight actually. I told him to hold off on his Lafroig 10 until I got a hold of him. We're going to do that. So what other new workshops were brought up, CJ?
Some form of workshop on the editing process. And let's see.
Transferring into ebooks.
Yeah, a workshop of covering print versus digital, transforming into ebook formats, marketing and promotions.
Could we lump that into like a self-publishing type? Not that self-publishing is necessarily the way to go, but we could do something about that as well. What are the options for new writers?
Well, I think that if we have one on how to EPUB your work, that kind of assumes self-publishing to that.
I would recommend against that. There's a lot of material you should be giving out if you're talking about self-publishing, and if you're talking about transferring into ebooks, there are multiple formats for how to transform a print book into ebooks. You could almost do like a 2-hour workshop on the modality for each way of transferring into ebooks, because they've got for example, they've got a totally different format for Amazon than they do for some of the other formats.
Oh, you're saying no to combining those two into one, not no to self-publishing in general.
Oh, no, I think self-publishing rocks. And even if you're not a new author, there are certain rationales where you may want to go the self-publishing route. I've got it, and just that alone, whether you could do a 2-hour workshop on just the question of should you try for traditional publishing, or would self-publishing suit your needs better? Because there's a lot of material just on that. And that would, I think, and plus that's cutting edge at this point. That the way people are working with that and are thinking about that is changing. So that there really is a lot to be held just in that one question. Never mind about how to self-publish. I think you've got more material there than you have than would be good for one workshop.
Okay, cool.
I think it would be like stuffing everything in, and you get very little of use because you'd be trying to get so much in, you wouldn't be able to do anything pretty well.
Yeah, do more focused, more involved workshops.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. Trying to be everything to everyone doesn't work.
Yeah, I can't even be everything to my own wife, let alone the rest of the world.
For example, totally
Too much information.
different ebook format for doing an ebook in Kindle than there is for a number of other formats. That's on my list of things to learn how to do. But so I would love workshops on those, and I need to learn multiple formats because they don't all do it the same. I've looked at the instructions.
No, they don't, but you can start, the EPUB format for Kindle is probably the most widely distributed, so that's probably the right one to start with.
I've got the instructions printed out, but I know me in technology, and it shall take a little time. So basically, I'm just saying that there are different formats for doing that, and trying to do all the formats in one workshop might be a little bit more than if you want to give people adequate training so that they can actually do something with it. Unless, of course, you did a six-hour format, which would be different.
That may be difficult.
Well, Justin, that was one of the things we were talking about. We were talking about 2-hour workshops, and we were also talking about 6-hour workshops.
Mm-hmm.
So
okay.
I'm just saying, if you did 2 hours on ebook, how to make something into an ebook, you probably couldn't do justice to all the formats unless you've got a bunch of people who are already very tech savvy. And if they're already really tech savvy, they're probably just going to go to instructions online and do it themselves. So.
Yeah, one way to possibly work around that would just be do a 1 to 2 hour session on a particular format and have it recorded, and then just post it up on our website for people to view when they have time, rather than try and reserve space at a library for an excessive amount of time and coordinate who can make it when and what's the best day. We just get the necessary people to do the recording for 1 to 2 hours or however long it takes, post the video, provide the PDF resources and whatnot on the same page, and send that out.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anyone on the YouTube channel that's not in the Google Plus Hangout?
I don't know. It's hard to tell who's on it. They don't really give me that information.
Because there are more people on it than there are in the Google Hangout.
So are you doing more booklets this year, CJ?
Hopefully. What's in my notes? My notes say yes, but I don't have much more than that. I have a 2-inch stack of papers that I intend to reformat into work packets and stuff like that. It's just having the time to sit down and do it, or finding the tech-savvy people to help me pull them together. I think that's one of my goals actually for next week after I survive this week. Go through my stack, figure out just what can be pulled together, a couple page work packet or a little booklet, outline as much as I can, and then start reaching out to people to see who I can coordinate with to help pull things together. Because delegation is fun, and it kind of helps ensure that stuff actually happens.
I still owe you another booklet.
And I completely forget what topic it is.
If you want to get something done, give it to a busy person.
That works to a degree.
I'll have to check it. It's been a while. This has been a kind of crazy year.
Yeah, for everyone. I think that's why things have kind of fallen to the wayside at the moment. And now we're just trying to figure out what do we have, where do things stand, and how can we pull it all together for next year.
I think for the last year you had big dreams, and that's good. And not everything got accomplished, and that's okay. Because it leaves us some more stuff for this year, which is cool.
What I'm curious about is how can we get the number of people who participated in Nano this year and who came to the various sessions this year, how can we keep them involved during the year? Because I really think that the real key to making this group successful is to continue adding regulars.
I think that's going to boil down to marketing our events and providing some sort of teaser or info that will encourage them to show up on a regular basis, or at least semi-regular basis.
Do we have a mailing list for all of these people? Do we have email addresses?
I have a couple pages here and there from some events, and I can mass nano mail everyone who's part of our region.
Yeah, but they only see that if they log into the Nano site, right?
Depends on their settings. Some of them, it's just nano mail notifications. Some of them, it goes directly to their email addresses.
Yeah, I get them in my email address, but it always says it's a Nano announcement, and in the off-season, I think people are less likely to look at that.
Yeah, there's unfortunately nothing I can do about that part.
Yeah.
If you really want me to, I can export the email, the list of email addresses in the Fairfield County site and send them to you.
That might be a beginning. Just, send a regular monthly announcement of when the next event is going to be. Just that on its own, I mean, I like the fact that we use the Facebook page, but there are some people who are just not going to get that passively. They have to be active to look at that.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas email is a nice passive way for them to receive it.
So I think the email will be a good start, and I'd have to get that list to you before January 6th, because once the new site goes up, everybody will have to re-sign up for the new site.
Really?
Yeah. There's no.
Okay. Well, you know what? Then that's not a bad thing either, because you can do that by sending them all an email saying, "Hey, here's the new site. Click here to sign up for it."
Right.
So that's an outreach opportunity, and then that email can also be worded in such a way to show them what all the benefits are of the new site. So that's kind of actually that's a good way to get them back into being active.
Yeah, people like a fresh
weed
start.
out some of the dead accounts that don't exist anymore, will never be used.
Or who were trying to sell sunglasses.
And that was only on Facebook, wasn't it? But actually, we can get all of those Facebook email addresses too, because everybody has a Facebook email address now if they've got a Facebook account. It's slow to crawl, but it's doable.
True.
Hey, Justin, your camera is set so that we only see the top of your head.
That's because I'm eating. And I didn't want to be gross.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
That's why I was gone. I was picking up food.
Okay.
This chili place that I used to go to, I say used to, because they stopped having chocolate chips as an add-on to the chili. And that's
Seems
why I
like an
kept going
odd
there.
topping.
It does, but it's actually really good. And they're like, oh, it didn't sell enough, so we stopped providing them.
I use powdered cocoa when I make my chili.
So yeah, so their inability to realize that there are more than just one set of customers has lost a customer. So sad.
And apparently it also made us lose Calvin.
Oh no.
Yeah. Boy, I hope it wasn't something I said.
You were rough on him.
Yeah, right.
It's probably fine.
I was probably just, confirming the things he was thinking anyway.
Well, I must admit, I haven't done the website a lot because I hear you're going to change it, and
There's not a lot to do on it.
what?
There's
Yeah.
not a lot to do on it. That's part of the issue.
At the moment, we have a stagnant forums, we have a stagnant event calendar, and we have an even more stagnant chat room.
Yeah.
That's about it.
That's a good description.
Well, may new beginnings bring new content. Or something.
Sounds good.
Well, I think that's good, but I think that we should think about what a rollout strategy will be in terms of emailing everyone, announcing it to people on Facebook, making sure that when people show up the first time, they have an automatic login, so that they have to log in to use it. I think that's and then like announcing to them every time there's a chat, announcing them every time that there's stuff in the forums, or like one of the things that could be very effective is having a weekly forum review. If there's activity actually going in the forum, getting a weekly email that recaps what went on in the forums is a really good way to keep people involved. I've seen a lot of forums do that, and it's very effective.
I'm sure Kelvin can figure out the logistics of that.
It's a regular on LinkedIn groups. A lot of LinkedIn groups will do that. They'll give you a weekly summary. He's back.
Hooray!
Yeah, not even I'm immune to technical difficulties.
Oh, we thought that just another one of the multiverses had bumped into you or something.
No, it was actually something that looked like it was going to happen eventually. My connection was, I couldn't browse any websites. It looked like I just had enough bandwidth to stream, and then that gave out. But I'm back.
Okay.
I didn't miss too much, did I?
Yeah.
No, we spent the whole time making fun of you.
And the shitty website that I put together.
Actually,
you were connected.
Yeah.
One thing that we did just come up with before you came back was weekly forum reviews for whatever's posted on the new forums, to email that out to members.
So a weekly summary, here's what was talked about on the forums,
Oh, okay.
The one disadvantage of that is you'll have to make sure that there's some talking on the forums.
That's true.
Otherwise, it will immediately become pretty obvious.
Yeah, right now there's 5 messages or 7, 9 messages all told on the forums.
Yeah, that seems like something we can do once we get a little more traction going.
Well, I think that that's part of what we have to think about with the new website, is that you don't need to just have a rollout, but you need to have a promotional plan for it. So getting people involved and what you need to do, and pointing out to them, sending them out emails and saying, "Wow, this is happening," and then a week later saying, "Oh, this happened on the website this week," and it takes a serious amount of continuous work. Usually, it takes about 6 to 8 weeks before people start to come in on a regular basis,
Right.
But they need to see something at least weekly.
I think just leaving the Fairfield County site much more open to the public than we currently have it will help.
As long as it doesn't become, sunglasses of the week site.
Yeah, as fun as that is.
So that needs to be policed.
I'll give more of an honest try on the news site. There's a lot more security options that have come about since I designed that first site. So.
No, that's good.
What excuse me. What forum platform are you using this time around?
BB Press.
Okay.
It's all going to be tied in with WordPress. Just to add a bit more cohesiveness to everything.
Yep.
It should make it a lot easier to manage.
Yeah, definitely. Because trying to get that forum through Joomla was not easy. I think I just got lucky with that one. That was like maybe the third or fourth forum iteration that I put together for the Fairfield County site. So
they were all a bit frustrating, to be fair.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest reasons moving to WordPress is a good idea is just the community the community backing WordPress. It's like ungodly massive, and so any problems.
You've got so many plugins out there available to you, and
yeah.
And a lot of people who've already done it and can tell you how.
Right. I was just getting ready to say that. My problem has been somebody's problem previously, so there's an answer to whatever I have. So I'm very thankful for that.
It's also pretty easy. Speaking as the tech challenge person who's running 2 blogs on WordPress right now, and from the sound of you, you are far more technologically talented than I shall ever be, so if I can handle it, you will find it a breeze.
Just, I think just the least amount of hassle there is to put together a WordPress theme as opposed to Joomla has made it worth it alone.
Bonsai.
And just I'm finding there's a lot more obvious things that can be done with WordPress themes than you could with Joomla themes. I think just because of the WordPress API itself and everything that they make available to you to do whatever the hell you want.
Mm-hmm.
And me being a slight control freak, that makes me happy.
For me, I'm tech.
Oh, go ahead.
For me, I'm tech challenged, and I find that any time I do not spend wrestling with tech that does not want to cooperate with me is time that I can spend actually writing something worthwhile.
And
which
WordPress
is a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm.
So we sing nothing but the praises of WordPress among this congregation here.
There you go.
Oh dear.
Never do that again. Was this morning
That
radio?
was easy.
Yeah, I'm launching my site through Amazon AWS via a Pelican Linux client. So it's going to be only static pages allowed, and then the hosting is basically free.
Ah.
And then as I start accumulating viewers and other things, then maybe I'll upgrade to a...
And are you going to be looking at it through a Lynx browser while you're at it?
No, that's... I mean, I will be, but...
Come on. Yeah.
No, it's already up and running. FacingMyReality.com. It needs a new template. this is the default template, but the site exists and it doesn't cost me anything to host it, which is a plus.
I think that's an amusing name, facingmyreality.com.
Productivity blog. And I'm looking forward to really getting this thing going in January.
When you've actually got free time again.
Yes. Actually, I'm going to be doing a lot of work on it over Christmas break when I'm in Arizona. And my boss can't tell me to do anything because I, quote, don't have the internet. So how could I possibly do work from it?
Oh, come on. Arizona isn't that much of a backwater. I've got family there, and they've got internet.
I wouldn't be surprised if my parents paid extra to get that sweet dial-up speed.
Where in Arizona are you going to? Like Preston?
No, it's outside of Phoenix. There's going to be internet.
Like Globe?
I'm just lying to my boss, so I don't have to do anything.
Okay.
There's just not official internet.
Right.
It's Cactus Net.
It hurts.
That's funny. I actually lived in Arizona for 4 years, if you can call that living.
Arizona has its perks.
It has 2 seasons, summer and hell.
Actually, it has 2 seasons that run simultaneously all year, in the sun and in the shade.
Yeah. They are... I did not like it very much. I found it very sterile. All of the culture can be found in the yogurt aisle of the supermarket.
That's fair.
40% of the population lives in trailer homes. Phoenix, which is the 6th largest city in the country.
Yeah, but Scottsdale.
Something like 30% of Scottsdale is that way. They're just behind massive adobe walls, so you don't see them.
No, Scottsdale is basically the Bar Harbor of the West, from what ever since I've gone there.
Ooh, that's a really weird comparison.
Hey, buy this thing from the store. Oh, what's next to this store? Oh, another thing where you can buy things at a ridiculous markup for touristy reasons.
Now I see why you make that comparison. Yes, the two are similar that way.
Yes, not in climate, that's for sure.
Yeah. Although one gets you clam chowder and the other one gets you Mexican food.
Yep.
For the sake of the people viewing this in the future, whenever they can catch it, are there any other goals or things that we'd like to have accomplished for the website or the group in general?
CJ, are you trying to keep us on task here?
Yeah, I think it is.
Partly.
Good for you.
Thank you, CJ.
Maybe because I still have 100 math questions to review before Wednesday, and I'd like to get some of those done tonight.
I just think that next steps from this is maybe, if you've taken notes from this meeting, is publish those notes so that we can take a look at, what we think are the good ones out there, and then probably some of us can raise our hands and volunteer to do some of the work. I think that this last year, 2013, was the first one that people took work off of your shoulders.
Or maybe the first time I actually attempted to delegate.
But, I think it was very successful. I think that the different seminars that we had were really well accepted, and then we got a few more people involved, and I think that's a good thing going forward. It just makes the experience richer.
And I think making my world building more project-y and less lecture-y will help. I got a lot of positive feedback on the mini workshops throughout the day.
Actually, I thought the world building was very, very project-y. Not excessively so, but I thought it was a good blend.
I very much enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought the exercises were great, and it gave me a lot to think about.
And at some point, I need to get the video of that back from Calvin, presuming he still has a copy of it, so I can somehow get it on a website.
Oh god, I'm pretty sure I'm a sweaty mess in that thing. We might want to just hold off until the next one.
Alright. I had started the editing process on that bad boy. I did start the editing process on that one, so.
Uh,
Calvin, I got a tripod and I think the same camcorder that you have, so we can do 2-camera workshops and make you edit even 4 times as hard. And then audio syncing those together. Oh, it's gonna be so fun.
Fuck.
Or we could set up 2 Xbox Connects and then publish it in 3D.
I'll watch it on the Oculus Rift.
Oh.
You know what? I've played with one of those. One of my nephews was a Kickstarter funder at a high enough level that he got a demo version. It's absolutely amazing. It really is.
Other things. Yeah, I mean, see, one thing you're going to want to do is start delegating content creation pretty early on, so that when the time comes, we already have that content ready. So if, let's say, you have a workshop that you're planning in April, get somebody working on that right away, at least collecting information and getting it under an approval process and stuff like that. You know, if you're looking to write more with the lit jutsu, you know, get authors for that really quickly, so that you know, you can start generating content through that, and you know, pamphlets and whatnot, buttons. Start early, so when we say, oh, we can implement this finally, we already have everything ready to go. That'd be my suggestion.
Yeah. To give you an idea, this is all the stuff for worksheets and whatnot that I have to play around with, that I'm hopefully going to play with next week. So
buy one of those Evernote scanners. Throw them all in.
Yeah, once I go through all this stuff, whittle it down, outline common threads, I can post a list of that on the Facebook page and whatnot, and see if anyone's willing to take certain topics on, and we can figure things out from there.
Are you Evernote Premium user?
No.
Okay.
So what I've heard is workshops, pamphlets, get the new website up and running, and make it more active and interactive. Find ways to spread the word about the group so we attract more members, and find ways to keep members active throughout the year as opposed to just in November. Am I missing anything?
Right.
That about covers it. Yeah.
Okie dokie.
Oh, you know what we can do? Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt your thought.
No problem. Go ahead.
We can. Are the Nano forums still up?
They're up year-round, but people tend to start fading away.
Well,
already.
they end up getting rid of a bunch of sub-forums through the rest of the year. The whole site isn't up all year round.
I've never noticed that.
Also,
maybe I'm wrong, but either way, we should go through the some of the writing games that they do on the forums and start some threads up. That will keep people active and engaged, I think, more. We'll have to pick out some good ones.
You also might want to contemplate, should we be doing something in connection with the Campt nanos? Obviously not as active as we do for the full NaNoWriMo, but perhaps something that intermeshes with that.
I'm definitely going to participate in Campt Nano this year. So I'm all in on that.
Yeah, seeing as I'll be taking my last class during the summer, I may not participate, just for my own sanity. But there's definitely things that we can do to coordinate for those who will be participating, and maybe set up some events focused around that and see who else we can pull in.
For example, you were talking about your full day of expanding the plot, you know, plot in 6 hours type of thing, as opposed to plot in an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Doing one of those right before one of the Campt Nanos would be great. because it would give you the opportunity to say, hey, you're going to do Camp Nano? Here's a workshop that's designed just to get you up and going.
That would work.
And because we're thinking about it now, you've got time to get somebody or somebody's to teach it, and time to schedule it, so it doesn't turn into one of those. Okay, that would have been a great idea if we had enough time to do it in. Since a lot of your members, you're snagging them out of Nano, Camp Nano might be a good place to also snag more new membership.
Makes sense.
I know making sense is one of my more annoying habits.
You just like keeping us surprised.
I don't know. I think that wraps things up for next year pretty conveniently, or at least it gives us a lot of things to play with and start coordinating now so they're ready in time for when we need them to be.
Agreed.
And for anyone else who happens to catch this video later, by all means post your comments and say if you agree with our ideas or if you think we're missing something, if you disagree with some of the plans that we have. Whatever your opinions happen to be, post them so that we can see them later and add them into our equations.
Yes.
Hear, hear.
That'd be good.
Unless anyone else has some end of the video comments, I think we'll wrap this one up.
Sounds good to me.
Very well.
All right. Hello everyone. Sorry for the late start. We're dealing with some technical difficulties trying to get people into the actual hangout. But we're just going to get things rolling and see how things work from there. This little video is for the Fairfield County Writers Group to kind of strategize about 2014. I have a couple ideas of what I'd like to accomplish in 2014 with our group, but I also wanted to open it up to the rest of our little region to find out what other people would like or are expecting, and kind of as an overview of 2013, like how did things go for you, what worked, what didn't. And for those unable to make it into this hangout, you're welcome to post in the YouTube comments, and we shall handle those accordingly. Just to kind of get things rolling, for those of you who got to participate in 2013 events, primarily Kathy and myself, how did it go? What worked and what didn't?
Well, I'm, as I've said so many times before, I'm one of those border jumpers. I like the events I was able to make it to, and my schedule is wild and crazy. So when I can, I come, and when I can't, I can't, and that's kind of how that goes. But overall, I've gotten a lot out of the group, both live and online. I've taught a bunch of workshops in the past. That was the one I taught for the Fairfield County Writers Group this year. It's the longest one I've ever taught. So that was kind of interesting. I like to think it went reasonably well. I also...
and we're all at different levels, obviously, but we've all moved forward. So I think a little more work on the craft would be interesting to do in 2014, and not just the camaraderie and motivation. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm definitely for some more engaging either workshops or just writing events in general. Some of the workshops I kind of had in mind for 2014, just to give you all an idea is, skimming through my notes,
Ooh, he prepared. Ooh.
somewhat, uh, the idea of a plot in a day workshop. So kind of expanding on the whole plot in an hour workshop that Roman has done. I kind of want to expand that a little to also include a little more character creation and universe building, so you can really get a little bit of everything all in one day.
That sounds great.
And it would probably be multiple speakers depending on the topic, so one of us would handle like a 60 to 75 minute portion, and then we trade it off to someone else, and over the course of maybe 5 or 6 hours, we'd be able to build up an entire story from beginning to end.
Well, if we do something like that, it would be really worth the marketing effort to getting the word out to try to get a large audience to something like that. Do you think libraries would allow us to take up that much time? Or would we
I would
have to go back to ourselves?
I would have to coordinate with a library and get their backing, I think, to be able to do a 5 or 6 hour block. But I think if we promote it and market it appropriately, we'll be able to get a lot of support, because we can bring in a lot of outside people from our group, or some of the people who aren't able to attend as regularly.
I think that would be useful. I think one of the good reasons to use a library, let's say Darien, for example.
Sorry, more technical difficulties trying to respond to people.
There you go. Suggestion.
Yes.
When you're thinking about libraries, one thing I think you want to consider is adequate parking, both number of spaces and length you can stay in that spot. I can't remember which one, but one of the ones during November, there was a library parking lot that was pretty much full because they were having an event, and then there was public parking, which was only good for 2 hours. And when you have a 3-hour write-in, that's kind of awkward.
Yeah, I know the library you're talking of.
Once you moved.
That one actually has a library on the or has a parking lot on the other side of the library, which I think does not have a time limit. But yeah, parking is still limited there.
That is true, but there was no signs for it to begin with, and when I found it when I had to move my car, it was full because they were having an event, and I was very lucky to catch a spot as somebody pulled out, because otherwise I would have been driving in circles. So that's a factor you want to keep in mind when you're scheduling libraries.
Roman made it in.
Relatively small in the scheme of things. Yay!
Greetings. It didn't want me to go in because some of you aren't in my circles.
Well, that's just silly.
Yes. Greetings to everyone.
Salutations.
I have been listening. I
volunteered to write 2 booklets, and I actually got 1 accomplished. So I've still got a booklet on my roster of things to deal with. And I seem to have locked up for the moment.
I think we averaged. I think we averaged about 1 writing event per month, with the exception of November, where we had a writing event every weekend because of NaNoWriMo. I think there were only 2 months where I was unable to run an event because I was at conventions. But I'm hoping this year the way it's going to be scheduled is the 3rd Saturday of each month will be a 3-hour write-in, ideally at a library somewhere within Fairfield County. I think that way I'll be avoiding most, if not all, conventions that'll be going on that I'd be attending. And I'm hoping to coordinate with 5 or 6 libraries within the area so that we can host events at libraries rather than at Paneras or cafes or random places that we happen to find. I'm still coordinating with some of the event coordinators at certain libraries, and I'm still trying to reach out to other libraries where we haven't actually done much, if anything, with them in the past. So it's going to be interesting over the next month or two to try and make the appropriate crossroads with libraries and locations to figure things out. But the goal is the same as this year, one writing event per month at a minimum. And I'm hoping to do 4 or 5 workshops in 2014. Let's see. The goal is at least 1 workshop per quarter.
At least so.
Hooray! Do you have any commentary on how 2013 has gone for our region?
I think that we did a couple of things in 2013 that were great. We did Kathy's creativity seminar, Justin's world building. I think the plotting one we did went well. I think that got a couple of people interested in our group. I don't know if it brought any long-term new ones, but you said that we only did 1 per month. I think we did more than 1 in October, didn't we?
Yeah, October we did a couple pre-nano events as well.
Right, yeah. I think that those are useful. I think that gets the word out. I think working with the libraries would be good. The people at the Westport Library at the last event seemed like they were gung-ho about it. And obviously Amanda at Darien is gung-ho.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she's obviously willing to support us. I think we make her look good because we got good turnouts. And that's part of it, you know, everybody has to win from it. So I think the libraries are definitely the way to go. They're a lot more comfortable. It's a damn shame there are no drinks in New Canaan, but they don't mind you bringing in drinks from the outside. So, you know, I don't know what other libraries there are, libraries that are closer to, for example, for you, Kathy, to get you to save some gas money in terms of that.
That would be delightful, but I resigned myself to the fact that to be an artist, one must suffer. I enjoy you guys, and you are worth driving the distance to see you when I'm free to do so.
You are far too kind. So
yeah,
I think the libraries are great, especially when we have rooms to ourselves because we can talk, and I think that some of the talks I know for me they have been helpful. Not just in terms of, you know, learning about the writing craft, but also in terms of motivation. I'd like to get more. I think the group is getting mature enough to a certain extent that we could be a little bit more